Today's class is going to be a very long class. Long in terms of the things we are going to do. Today's class, we are going to execute a lot of coding commands in which at the end of the execution of all of these coding commands, we are expected to achieve the aim of putting someone's data into the database. We'll use this week to achieve the desired result of putting the information inside the database. And then we'll use next week to make sure that our data is sensitized. Our data is sanitized. It is correct in which the formats we want. And then we'll bring all the things we have learned together as one and design a beautiful interface finally, so that we can go and write our exam after that. Now, in order to write my application in my server side, I will need to open my XAMPP. And then once my XAMPP is open, I will start my Apache and start my SQL. First of all, let's dwell 1 second. First of all, let's dwell in the realm of the Apache. Okay. Sorry. So I'm going to open my browser. And then in my browser, I'm going to open localhost / and then localhost to open up. Now remember, this opens up because I have my Apache on. If I want my database side, then I need to have my MySQL, so that when I click on phpMyAdmin, it would open up my database for me. Now, of course, if I want to go there directly, I'll just type localhost / phpMyAdmin, and it will take me to my database section quite easily. Now we are going to design a sign-up application for someone. So someone wants to take some sign-up application in which he or she needs or requires from a particular user. So I need to create a database that would hold that sign-up information for that person. Now, the application we are going to have the sign-up in for is for a shopping cart. So I'm going to call it shop. So I'll just create my database, as easy as that. What did I do? Again, to create my database, I opened up my, let me zoom in. I opened up my browser. I went to localhost / phpMyAdmin, okay? In there, I would either click on the home button or I'll click on new. And when I click on new, I have a section for me to type in the name of my database. In my case, I type in shop. In my case, I type in shop. Just for an example, I'm going to type shop with S attached to it and click on create. That would create a database called shops for me. And that is how I create a database. Quite simple. Finished. I've created a database. Now, in every database, there are elements in it. There are entities that dwell in that database. One of that element that dwells in the database would be our customers. And then how many fields do I require for my customers? Of course, I can enter any number here. But let's say for now, I am thinking of 4. So I'm entering 4. So I'll click on create. So you can see the database name is shops. Okay, sorry. Let's not go there. Let's go to shop. And in here, let me type customers. And so my database name is shop. And then here I'm going to click on create. Remember, I created the shops just for an example, a repetition for you guys. So over here, I need my primary key. And remember, from your lessons in database, the primary key is the unique identifier for each record. So here I'm going to call my primary key, let's call it CID for customer ID. I'm going to make my primary key an integer. And I'm going to make sure my primary key is an AI, an auto increment. And immediately I make it an auto increment, it sets it as a primary key for me. And there I have that section done. The next section is I need to know the customer's full name. I need to know the customer's first name. And I need to know the customer's surname. Okay, just so that if things I have to do with all of them, they are already in the system and I can manipulate with them. Now, the problem here comes in this format. I said I wanted 4, and it gave me 4, but I need more. So what do I do? Do I have to start all over again? No, you don't have to start all over again. You just have to go to the add section here and then enter the amount you want to add and click on go. And it will add it for you so that you can continue adding the fields to your database. Now, of course, I need the customer's phone number. I need the customer's email. I need the customer's password. And then I need some more things. So I also need 2 more. So I need to know when the customer registered, so registration date. And then I need to know if the customer is an active customer or is not an active customer. So here I've entered the entries for them. But remember, when you're dealing with a computer, it is all about saving in a particular location. And if you are saving something in a particular location, you need to know the size of that thing. So the data types will tell us the size or how the computer should format the data going to be saved there. So in this case, I want it to be a text. Here, I want it to be a varchar. This is a variable character. Then you must specify the number of characters. Now, for a typical Ghanaian name, it should be around 25 characters. A typical Ghanaian surname should be around 25 characters. If it's a phone number, then it's a varchar. And here I'll put in 10. Now, for those of you who would ask me, why is the phone number a varchar and not an integer? Over here, if I type a phone number, let's say 0232463, get that. This is a phone number, right? If I press enter, you can see that the 0 goes out. Now, if I make this a string, then the 0 doesn't go out. So if I am supposed to choose int here, it means that every time someone enters a phone number, the 0 in front of that phone number goes away. Now note, if you want the 0 to go away, you can do that. But I don't want that. So I want it to be seen as a string so that all the values of that phone number would be stored. Now, for a typical email address, I think there should be around 50 characters. Your password should be about, let's say, 25 characters. If it is a date, then I need to go and choose the data type date. And finally, for active, I want to use int so that if it is 1, it means it's active. If it is 0, then it means it's not active. So I'll use an integer. Now, if everything I've done here is correct and I trusted it, then I can go down here and click on what? Save. So now I have saved a table in my database called what? Shop. Shop. And the table name is customers. Any questions so far? Are there any questions so far?
Please, I just my connection went off, so I missed what you just did. I don't know if there's any small recap for me so that I can.
Hey, also this one, I can't do small recap. So when you get it, then you watch the video, okay? Because this one, where I've got it, I can't do small recap. There's no small in this one.
Okay.
This one, there's no small in it. But for the rest of you, who your video didn't go off, are we okay with creating a database in MySQL?
The video went off at a point for me that I was following according to your words, so I can interpret if I get the interface.
I see. Let me see. Say I want to create another table. So of course, I will click on my database. So here I have my database called shop. Can we all see the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, if I want to create another table, there's a section for create another table. So all I have to do is specify the name of the table I want to. Yeah, it's actually quite simple. So the name of the table I want to create is called item. And I'll click on create. Now, of course, remember, when your database lesson, every table has a unique identifier. But by the way, you have done database, right?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so there's no need for me to come and talk plainly because you have done database and passed. That's good. So here I'll call the table over here. I can't call it II. That doesn't sound right. So let me call it item ID. Okay, and then here I'll make the item ID an integer, and then I will make it a primary key, and then I'll make it an auto include. That's the AI. Now, of course, if I have to keep information on items in the shop, I must know the name of the item. I must know the price of the item. I must know the expiring date of the item. Okay, but you can see that I chose 4 columns and it is filled. So I was saying that if you want to add some more columns, the add section is here for you to add the number of columns you like. Are we okay? So here I must know, okay, before I go to the expiring date of the item. But before I go to the expiring date, let me do price. Oh, I did price already. So number of units. So end unit. Are we okay? Let me do it number of units, just so that people. And then here I can also add in the expiring date of the item, and then the date in which the item was delivered to the organization. Okay. Okay. And then the date in which the item was entered into the system. Okay. And then who entered it? So who entered it? So I know what employee entered that item into the database. Of course. Then of course, maybe sometimes that item will stop selling. So I must know if that item, the status of the item, if it is active or if it is not what active. Now, the next thing that comes in is specifying the data type of the information you are collecting. You see, again, let me repeat this, but if I am bringing something to you, let's say I call you guys and I say, oh, I have no space in my house, so I need something to be stored, and I wanted to bring it to you to store it. The next question logically you will ask me is, what am I bringing and how big is it? Now, if I tell you, oh, I am bringing a cargo car, you know, those big trucks they used to pick up cargo, your next reply will be, oh, it can't fit in my house. Or maybe you have a big compound, oh, you can bring it to what? Fit. The same way in the computer, You have told the computer you want to store these items. How big is the item, or what should you do in preparation for the item that is what coming? If you tell the computer you are putting in a name, you must tell it if it is a text, then that means that the name could be of 4 or 5 pages of characters. But 4 or 5 pages of characters, it has created a space large enough for that. But let's say the name is PK. I have created an entire compound of characters just to store PK. That does not make any form of sense. So it means I would use a varchar, because with a varchar, I can specify the length of the space I want to keep. So in this case, I want to keep a character that is 40 characters. Please, 1 second, I have a call. Sorry about that. Okay, so what was that? Sorry, someone should remind me what I was saying.
You're talking about the number of characters you want in a field or something.
Good, good. So over here, I want my space to be big enough to fit in 40 characters. Now, of course, maybe some item in the shop will have a very long name, so I can make it 60 characters. There's no problem with that. I want this thing here should not be an integer, but should be a double. Why a double? Because sometimes some items in the shop are 1 cedi 50 pesos. And if I make it integer, the 50 pesos will never show, and people will come and beat me because they think I've increased price because Ghana is high. So I'll make here a double. Over here, I am counting the number of units in the house I have. I am not sure that if you have items in the shop, you can have half of the item. So I'll keep it as an int. Over here, I need to make it a date. Over here, I need to make it a date. Date entered, I need to make it a date and time so that I can know what date the person entered it and actually what time the person entered it to. Who entered it, I'm going to leave it as an int because that information will come as a primary key, and the primary keys are already integers so they can match. Status, I'll use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to mark the status. So 1, maybe we are selling it, 0, we are not selling it, 2, it has expired, 3, maybe it's seasonal, something like that. So the status of it could be integer. It doesn't really matter that much. Over here, I didn't enter anything. So that brings us to another question. Someone will ask, you say, if I choose plain date and I don't enter, what happens? So let's see. I didn't enter anything here and here. So if I go and click on save, what is going to happen? It will not be added because nothing was added there. Full stop. That is how I will create a table inside my database. So now that we have done some job for your database teacher, let's come and do some job for me, who is teaching you web application. I'm going to go to File, go to New, and then it's going to open up for me. And I can close this. And then I'm going to go to File, go to Open a Folder. And in the Open a Folder window, I'm going to go to local Dixie, XAMPP, and open folder. And then I press the Alt, so I'm okay. Oh no, I'm not supposed to open the folder as XAMPP. I'm sorry, I forgot. So what am I going to do here? Let me just start all over again. So I'm going to go to new window, close this one, go to file, open a folder, and then in open a folder, I'll go to drive C, XAMPP, and then in XAMPP, I'll go to HD docs. Then in HD docs, I'll go and open a new folder. And in that folder, I'm going to call this one shop. And then I'm going to open the shop, and then I will click on the save. Okay, select the folder. Good. So now over here, I have my folder opened in my HD docs directly for me to use. Over here, I'm going to click the add a file button like we did for when we were in class and designing the HTML documents. But this time, I'm going to make it .php instead of .html. Okay, so it means that now when I come to my Brave browser, the Brave, and then I type in localhost in the browser section, type in localhost /shop. It should open an empty file for me. That nothing here. There's nothing here. I haven't put anything. So now let's start filling that side. Okay. So remember the information we require from a particular user. We require the first name, right? So the first name. Let me zoom out of this one. It's worrying a bit. Okay. So we have the first name. Good. Then collapse you. We have the surname. Sorry. Let me just check from the database the things we require. Oh, sorry. I don't need you. I need you. And then I need you. So in here I have customers. And the information we require from customers is this first, the surname, the first name, the surname, the phone number, email, and password. Okay. So phone number, email, password. Okay, that's fine. So I'm gonna close this one. So we have the phone number, the email, and then the password. Okay, and then now we can have HTML, right? Because we are going to write codes for them. Of course, we have our head tag, remember, and then we can close our head tag. And then in the middle of the head tag, we have the title tag, and then we have the close title arrow key. And then inside the title tag, I have here customer registration. Good. Now I am done with my title. And then in my body, I have the close tag for the body. Okay. And then in between these two things here, I have my form tag. Now remember what we did last week. If you have a form tag, then you must specify the attributes of the form tag. And one of those attributes is the method, right? And we said the method of the form tag is either going to be a post or a get. In our case, we are going to use a post because there is sensitive information inside the form. Are we okay? Good. Good. Now, I have to put in my elements. And of course, these are the elements I need to put in, right? I need to put in something for the first name, surname, and then that. So here, I'm going to have the first name, of the particular individual. So I'm going to have input name is equal to let me go the way in which we did it in class so that it's easier for you guys. So we have type is equal to text. Are we okay? So type is equal to text. And then we have the name being equal to first name. So the name value of it is what? First name. And then I'm done with this one. Okay. And of course, the same thing will be done for this. The surname, but in this one's case here, we what? Surname. Okay. Between the two, I'll have the bracket here to space it out so that nothing is on the same line. So I'll do the same thing for this one too. Over here for phone number, we have the same thing, but again, sorry, this section here will change from the name to what? Phone. Very good. Then here we will have email. And of course, I'll change the type here to email. And then here, I'll change it to email. And then finally, I'll change the type here to password. And then I'll change here to what? Password. Okay. Now, of course, all of them, I would want to space them out so that they will not be together. And then finally, I'll have my input type is equal to submit. And then the name should be equal to submit. And then the value of it should be equal to register. And then I'll end with that. So now all of this should give us something. What should it give us? It should give us, when I refresh my browser, this first name, surname, phone number, email, password. A place for someone to enter his first name, surname, email, password. So when you come here, you're going to enter all the details over here. So I'm going to enter my first name, which is, let's see, my first name is Kofi Thompson. My phone number is this. My email is this, and my password is that. Are we okay? Now, there are some things we have to correct. First, the email, I don't think it's spelled like this, so we need to correct it. The password too is shown. You don't want it to show, so we need to correct that. So over here, the password, I didn't spell it right here, so I'll add the other S. And here, for the email, I'll remove the T over here. So when I come and I refresh my screen again, I should have my password being hidden, and my email here is spelled correct. So it means everything here is looking good. All right. Now, this code we have written here is HTML. It's the structure. Our database is over here. It's over here. And it is in the language of SQL. Something has to sit between this and this. And that is the job of the PHP. So now at the top of my document, I'm going to write PHP script to communicate between my form and my database. The first thing I need to do is create the connection between the form and the database. I need to create the connection between the form and the database. So for me to do that, I need my PHP tags. And in here, I'm going to create connection to the database. Now, for me to do the connection to the database, I need some things. What do I need? I need the server name. And the server name of our computer is what? Localhost. That's why whenever we do something, we type in localhost. The username of our server is called what? Root. The password of our server, the password of our server, so let me call it PWD, so that it doesn't conflict with the password we have. Are we okay? It's nothing. We don't have a password for ourselves. And then the database name of that is in our server that we are looking to go and then look for is called what? Shop. So with this information, I can now create the connection I want. So I'm going to call that connection connect. This is just a name. But this piece of code here is what is actually going to do that connection. That is my SQL I underscore connect into bracket. Then here, I'm going to give it some parameters. The first parameter, you guessed it, is going to be the server name, comma, the user's name, comma, the password of my database, comma, and then the database in which I want to go and then connect to. So this here becomes the connection string for the database. And as I said, it requires the server name, the username, the password, and then the database's name. Now, this information will connect me and will be given to this. That means that anytime I want to make a communication with my database, all I have to do is call upon the variable connect. Again, this is just the name I've given it. I can call it con. That means that anytime I want to do a connection, I have to use the variable name, what? Con. Are there any questions? Are there any questions?
No, not from now.
None so far from me.
Okay, if there are no connections, then let's move, no questions, sorry, then let's move on. We have created a connection between the form and the database. Now, the particular user who is going to be using our form, what is he or she going to do? He is going to enter information in this section here, right? Once he or she enters this information, they are going to do some stuff. Who can tell us what stuff they are going to do? Stuff, what are they going to do? Who can tell us? At the clicking of the button register, the information in these forms are supposed to shoot from here and then go into the database here. What are we supposed to do as data coders or programmers or whatever? We are supposed to, first of all, collect the information that is here. Collect the information that is here, and then push that information that is here to the database. base. Quite simple. Okay, quite simple. So now, remember what we did last week. We used the if into brackets is set. So P underscore post. Then in here, we'll put in what? Submit. So if the person clicks on the submit button, certain things should happen. What are these certain things that we want to happen? We first of all, we want to create a variable. So I'm going to call my variable first name, and I want it to be equal to whatever that is on the individual's form with the name first name. Let's see if I can break this down visually. Here, I'm saying create a variable in PHP. So this part is a variable in PHP. But I am giving it a post variable of first name. That is this block here. It has the name first name. So it means when I come to the form, are we okay? When I come to the form, over here, the information you type here is going to be stored in a post variable with first name as his name. Now, the good thing about this is that that information, we want to take it because it is in post, it is not stable, and give it to an actual variable that we can use. I will do the same for all the other items in my form. So I'll have surname is equal to $_post. Square brackets, surname. $phone is equal to _post, square brackets, phone. Now, I am not writing phone here because here the variable name is phone. I could have named this one different and different. It's just that it makes sense for them to be the same. This value here is coming from the form name here, which is what? Phone. The next thing is email. And here I have $_post. And then in here, I'm going to put in what? Email. Then from there, I'm going to have for password, $password is equal to that _post, square brackets, single quote, password. Okay, so now all the information in my form has been collected and given to variables. Now, the next thing in which I'm going to do now is I need to prepare my SQL statement. Why do I need to prepare an SQL statement? Because the code on your form is made up of HTML for structure and then PHP for collecting the information. But in the database, inside your database over here, the database language that it uses is in SQL. That means that if I am bringing something to the database, it has to be in SQL format. Now, I like cheating a lot, so I'll go to the SQL format in the database, okay? And then I'll click on insert, and it will write the insertion code for me, and I'll copy it. But because I know your teacher has taught you SQL already, I won't even bother myself because I know you people are gurus and you know already. And if I ask you, do you understand or is there a question, you say no, so I won't bother myself. Should I continue? I told you, you say you understand, so it's okay. You guys are the best. So over here, I have my insertion SQL code. Over here, I have insert into the table customers where that. So it means if I put something here, it's going for CD. If I put something here, it's going for first name and so on and so forth. Okay, that's fine. Now, problems. Number one, CD is an auto increment, so I don't have to enter that, but I have to enter full name. And full name is going to come, so I have to enter full name. Full name is going to come from the joining of first name and surname. That means that over here, I need a variable called full name, and I'm going to say it is going to be equal to whatever you have as the first name of the individual, dot space, whatever you have as the surname of the individual, and then I close my bracket. So this will join the two names from the user together and give me what? Full name. That means here I can, in double quote, in single quote, remember that's single quote, I can put in full name here. So it means that to go and pick this one and then give it to this one. Next is what? First name. First name, of course, we already have it from the user. We don't have to prepare it or redo it again. So I can come and put it here. The next thing in which we need to put in is the surname. Remember, they all go with single quotes because they are strings. So we need the single. If you miss one quote, it will not work. One mistake with this and it will not work. Nothing will work. Are we okay? And then here, the phone number here also goes with a single quote. So it's inside the single quote, comma. And then the next thing we have is email. So another single quote, comma. The next thing in which we have is password. Another single quote for password. So that's fine. And then after password, we have the reg date. Now, there are two ways you can go with this. One, you can go with the date function that comes with PHP. So you can say date is equal to date into bracket, the year into bracket, double quotes, the year minus the month minus the day. And this is going to pick the year, month, and day that is on your computer and give it to this one. The second way you can do it is just by typing now and putting it in quotes like this and bringing a comma here. And this now is a command in SQL. So it will pick the date on the server. It depends on you, how you want to pick your date and time. But whatever way you go, it will pick the date and time for you. Then from there, you can go to the next item, which is what? Active. So here we'll just put in 1 here because the person just registered. So of course, he or she is what? Active. So here I'm supposed to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items here too. I have open, close, single quotes for all of them. I didn't miss a single quote. So here is the SQL statement that we've prepared with the information we've collected from the user. Now I must send this information to the database because now it is in a format the database can understand. How will I do that? So I'll say my SQL I underscore query. And the query is going to take 2 things. The first thing is going to take is the connection you made, and we have made the connection here, comma. The next thing is going to take is the SQL command. So this is the SQL command. So the SQL command will be taken to the database using the connection script. Now, this here is an execution. So it will reply you with either true or false. That is, it worked or it didn't work. So here, I'm going to create a variable here, and I'm going to call the variable result so that I know what resulted in the execution of the command. So if result, remember, it is going to come back with an answer of true or what, false. So if I write if result, if I write here if result, it makes perfect sense because if true, then this will be done. If false, it will not be done. Now, if it is true, what do I want to be done? I want it to be echoed that user registered. If it is false, then I want to echo user not registered. Now let's test this. Let's see if all the things we have done make sense. All the things we have put together here makes sense, makes actual sense to what we do. So I'm going to run the application again. Shop. It's empty now. I'm going to fill the shop. So here I have my first name as Kofi, my surname as, let's say, Tom. Let's say Jack, Kofi Jack. That's a nice thing. And then here I have this, that's my phone. And then my email is this. And my password is this. And now I click on register. And it tells me I have an error in my code. So where is the error? It says that I am using an undefined index in line 11. And I am using an undefined index in line 13. No problem. Let's go and check what error we have caused. So I go back to my code. In line 12, I am using the surname without the $sign in front of it. So that is why everything stopped, because of the $sign I didn't bring here. Are we okay? So now that I have brought the $sign here, it means everything should be fine now. Again, because I didn't specify that if there's an error in the naming, the data shouldn't go into the database. I am sure that the data we just sent went into the database. You can see, but the surname section didn't enter. So I'm going to delete the surname section from the equation. Also over here, I didn't bring the quote here to close it off. That is why the surname section was telling me it is undefined, because it couldn't find it. It didn't know if it was part of the equal to or not. And what I just did was this. Over here, I didn't bring I closed it, but I didn't open it. So I have to go and open it. Okay, so now let's go back to our Brave browser. Let's refresh this again. Let's type in some information over here. So here, my first name is going to be Amma. And here, my next name is going to be John. Here, I'm going to have this. Over here, this is going to be my email. And here, I'm going to have this as my password. And when I click on register, it tells me the user is registered. When I come here to my database and I browse, it tells me I have one entry. The ID is 2. The surname is John Speaks Amma. First name Amma. Surname John. My phone number is this. Email is this. And this is what I use as my password. Now, for those of you wondering, next week we'll see how we can encrypt the password so that when you come here, you cannot see the password. To be encrypted, to be hidden away from an individual. And then over here, we can see that I registered on this date and I am active. Are there any questions? Bright, no question.
Not from my side. Everything is clear from me though.
Amma, no question.
I will have to watch it over and over, and I'll be fine. So the other one, I was able to go over and I was okay with it.
I see. Oh, okay. I see. Anyway, as I told you, practice makes perfect, and perfection is also very important. Are we okay? Let's end this class by going through another segment of this. We have seen how we can register a particular user. But now we want the person to log in, because if you have registered, you should be able to what? Log in. Okay, so I am going to now create another file for what? Logging in. So here I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to type in here login.php. And of course, to log in somebody, let me copy this to save some time. So I'm going to copy all of this. Are we okay? And then I'm going to bring it to the login side. But this time, I'm going to delete all the things at the top here, so that the only things which remain are the email and the password. Okay, so when I come to my login section, so let's say if I go to my Brave now, let me go back here, sorry. If I go back to the Brave, and then here I've already signed up. So if I go to login.php, I'll only see email and what? Password. Okay, so now I have my email, I have my password, so that I can be able to log in into the application using the information I registered with. Okay, so now let's come back here. Again, our form here has to be connected to the database we want to go and check the information from. So I would use this same code again at the top here. That's the connection string. Okay, remember, I need the server name, the username, the password, and the database name. And then I'll use my SQL I_connect. And then I have the information over here, and I'm giving it to Code. So now my form here, that is the login, is also connected to the database. The next thing I have to do is use the if set again. So you let me copy this section here, the if set again. So the if set means that when the person clicks on the login button, but in this case, I'm going to change the value here from register to login so that the button looks like a login button. Then the person doesn't think he's registering twice. So if the person clicks on the login button, again, the value of that login button that would be saved comes with submit. So if submit, then we know the person has logged in. Again, I'll collect two information. Since this is logging in, I'm collecting the surname. I'm collecting the email and then the password of the person. So again, I've cut my coding time by half by just copying and pasting this one again. But again, I also need to know that I need to create the SQL statement. But this one, I'm not going to copy it, the other one, because this one is for insertion. What I'm about to do is selection, because I'm going to have to select some pieces of information. So I'll come back here. And then with the help of this, I would see how I can do this. Now I want to make it big enough for you guys, but I want to select from the customers table where the person's email, okay? So where email is equal to what the person has typed, and at the same time, the password is equal to what the person has also typed. Very, very simple. So this is the SQL statement I require. So in login, I'm going to replace the SQL statement with this. Now note here, I need single quotes for them and not double quotes, because yeah, voila. So that means that here, since it is going to contain the information of what the user has typed, remember, it means it has to come from the user, and it comes from the user's form here. And this also has to come from the user, so it comes from the user's form here. Now, here, I'm going to type the same thing I typed there, because it's an SQL statement, so I have to execute it. So this entire statement comes back so that I can execute it. So remember, for my SQL query, I need the connection string I created and the SQL statement I want to go in. So it will go and come back. Now, over here, I want to check the number of counts that the system has. Why do I want to check the number of counts? Because here I'm telling you to go to the database to select from the customers table where this and this are equal. So it means if you go to the database and you are able to select something, then it means you have found someone so that person can log in. But if you go and you find nothing, then that means that there's nobody like that in my system, so do not log that person. So I need to count how many things in which that person went and found. And how will I do this? I'll use my SQL I underscore num underscore rows. And this would take the value of what? Result. So this will tell me how many things the result found. And why is that important? Because if the number of things that the result found, that is if the count is greater than 0, then that means that you have found someone, so you can log the person. But if that person, the count you go and do, is not greater than 0, it means we have to echo out that incorrect what? Username and password, because the person can log it. Now, if you found something, then it means we must take you to our dashboard, or we must take you to whatever screen we want to take you to. So here I've created a dashboard. I've typed some things here so we know we have gone there. And how will I take you to my dashboard? I would use location. Oh, sorry. I'll use header into bracket in double quotes, location, semicolon, and the location I want to take you is what? Dashboard.php. So this would send you to dashboard.php. Let's see if my code makes sense and if it runs or if it will not run or if I have an error on my code. Let's see. So I'm here. Let me refresh the screen again. I'm here. The email I typed is this one. So I've pasted it there. And then the password in which I typed is this one. So again, I have come and pasted the password there. Now, if I click this, because everything is correct, it takes me to what? Dashboard. So you can see I'm at the dashboard. So it means our code is working. But let's say here, I made a mistake with this and then type this in. So it means this email doesn't exist. So it tells me my username or password is what? Incorrect. So now I can register a person and then I can check if the person exists in my system. So now we can do register check, and then we can enter people into your system, check if they are there, they are not there. Very, very interesting. Of course, CSS, we'll use it to design our interface. Then we can be building a system, page by page, block by block. As always, after the class ends, I would send you guys the video for the class. I would send you the video for the class. I thank you all for coming today. During the week, whilst you're practicing, if you have any questions, feel free to call me at any time or message me and I'll reply you. And remember, what I always say is practice. The more you practice, the better you become. Are there any questions before we go away? If there are no questions, then thank you all for coming. We'll meet again next week.
All right, thank you too.